Hello and welcome to Volusia Magazine. I'm Amber Patterson. On today's show, we'll take a look at the Summer Food Service Program sponsored by Volusia County Government and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We'll find out about the several pairs of endangered least terns that were discovered nesting on Disappearing Island near Ponce Inlet, and we'll get some tips about how you can help make sure those chicks hatch successfully and survive. And Community Information Director Dave Byron will be joined in the studio by Jim Judge, Director of Emergency Management. Those segments, news, and more coming right up on Volusia Magazine. Stay tuned. Several pairs of endangered least terns have been discovered nesting on Disappearing Island near Ponce Inlet. Least terns are the smallest members of the gull and tern family. They weigh just over an ounce and have a wingspan of about 20 inches. The birds nest on sandy beaches and gravel rooftops and are aggressive in defending their nests. Least terns are listed as endangered by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, meaning they're in danger of extinction throughout or all or significant portion of their range. People are not allowed to disturb the birds or their nests. Several dozen pairs of least terns nest in Volusia County each year, but these nests are exceptional because they're in a popular recreational site. Jennifer Winters, Volusia County Environmental Specialist, and volunteer Mallory Smith are closely monitoring the progress of those endangered birds. So far, they counted 6 nests and expect more to nest on one site.
All right, we're just trying to get the message out that the area is posted. The island's not closed off by any means, but we've put a nice buffer around where the nests are located, and to remind people to please keep their dogs on a leash or away from the posted area if you're visiting the island for the day. Bring some binoculars and come out and see this rare opportunity.
The restrictions will be in place for about 2 months, giving the chicks time to hatch and learn how to fly. According to the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, people can help the nesting shorebirds by following these guidelines. Stay at least 300 feet from the nest. If birds become agitated or leave their nests, you're too close. Birds calling out loudly and dive bombing are giving signals that you need to back off. Never force birds to fly or to run. They use up the energy they need for nesting, and they may leave their eggs and chicks. Respect posted areas and keep your pets on a leash. If you see people disturbing the nesting bird, gently let them know their actions may harm the bird. And if people continue to disturb the birds, report their activities to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission at 888-404-3922. To make sure needy children don't go hungry when school's out, Volusia County again this summer is sponsoring a free summer food service program for children at dozens of schools, churches, and other sites throughout the county. Last year, more than 176,000 nutritious meals were served to needy children here in Volusia County. The program, funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, provides balanced meals during summer vacation when school breakfasts and lunches are not available. All children ages 18 and younger are eligible for those meals. The programs are approved for geographical areas where 50% or more of the children qualify for free and reduced price meals during the school year. Summer feeding sites that are in schools will provide meals to all children in the immediate area, in addition to those who are enrolled in the summer program. Not only will the grant feed thousands of children, but it will also enable the county to hire 25 temporary workers. The county's Community Assistance Division will oversee the program.
I just want to encourage those families that cannot afford the meal, feels like there's a cost involved. There's no cost involved. And we want to make sure that people are aware that these sites are available, and any child that's under the age of 18 can go to any of those sites and receive a nourished meal.
This year's summer food program will operate from June 9th through August 15th. The list of sites will be posted at summerfoodflorida.org in early June. For more information, you can call the Volusia County's Human Services Division at 386-736-5956. The Robert Strickland Shooting Range will close for routine lead removal for 10 days beginning June 9th. The popular county-owned range, which opened in 2006, draws more than 20,000 gun enthusiasts every year. The shooting range provides a valuable service to locals who want to sharpen their shooting skills or simply enjoy the sport of target shooting.
The shooting range attracts people of all backgrounds, including couples, retirees, hunters, veterans, and law enforcement officers. Safety is our primary concern. We have a strict safety policy, and our range master is always on duty to make sure they are followed to the letter. If you're planning to visit the shooting range, bring your own gun, ammunition, paper targets, eye and ear protection.
The shooting range, which opened in 1970, was named after Robert Strickland, a former Volusia County Commissioner. It's at 1180 Indian Lake Road off of US 92 west of Daytona Beach. It's open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day but Monday. Daily passes are available for $10. Semi-annual passes are $70 and annual passes are $100. The range provides a covered firing line for handguns at 7, 15, and 25 yards. High-caliber rifles may be fired from 50 and 100 yards. Any caliber handgun or rifle may be used except a 50 caliber BMG rifle. Shotguns and fully automatic weapons are also not permitted. Nationwide, gun sales have been climbing for nearly a decade, and they surged in recent years. According to FBI data, the number of firearm background checks rose from 9 million in 2005 to an all-time high of more than 21 million in 2013. About a quarter of Americans say they personally own a gun. Nearly half of gun owners say they purchased the gun for protection, while 32% use guns primarily for hunting. Surprisingly, the fastest growing demographic of gun owners is women. For more information about the Robert Strickland Shooting Range, you can call 386-226-0477 or you can visit volusia.org/parks.
Reduce, reuse, recycle, in that order. Great things come in small packages and you can never have enough of a great thing, right? Problem is, that's a lot of packaging. That's why the first step in the 3 R's is to reduce. Luckily, we've got choices. Good things can also come in one big package, using less of our resources now, saving more for later. And that's why reduce comes first in reduce, reuse, recycle. In a close second comes reuse, because that empty container is no one-hit wonder. With a little reinvention, it can live another day, and that's one less new product that needs to be manufactured, meaning one more lick here for everyone, and one more lick here for you. Step 2 can be found nearly everywhere, but it goes by many names. Some know it as rechargeable, others as donatable, and many more as machine washable, making all of these things reusable and, in a way, reducible. But that brings us to the fan favorite, the pretty sister of the 3 R's, recycle. Everyone is chanting your number 1, but they should be chanting your number 3. Don't get me wrong, 3 is still great. Trash can only ranks in at 2,082, just ahead of Feed It to an Infant, so 3 is up there. But there is a reason why there are another 2 in front of it, because the recycling process still uses plenty of resources in itself. But that is to make sure that we aren't turning the Rocky Mountains into landfills, a noble effort, so there's no question about it. But the point to remember is that there are easier paths. So the next time you see one of these on the bottom of one of those, consider all 3 steps in order: reduce, reuse, recycle.
For more information on Volusia County's recycling program, you can visit volusia.org and select recycling from the drop-down menu. The Port Orange Water Treatment Plant is the recent winner of 2 awards for excellence. The Most Improved Class A Water Plant Award in the state of Florida from the American Water Works Association and the 2013 Plant Operations Excellence Award from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. The plant has a number of innovative water treatment processes that make it stand out. And Stephanie Strong takes us over to the Port Orange Water Treatment Plant now for a look at its operation in this segment of Community Health Matters.
During a hot Florida day, there's nothing more refreshing than a nice glass of water. The folks at the Port Orange Water Treatment Plant are in the water processing business, and they have what it takes to deliver results. The plant received 2 awards: Most Improved Class A Water Plant Award in the state of Florida from the American Water Works Association and the 2013 Plant Operations Excellence Award from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection.
Yes, Port Orange has made us very proud that they're concerned about the quality of their water, which really impacts the quality of life in Port Orange. So congratulations to them.
Plant manager Steve Miller has been on the job for years. He enjoys serving the public and making sure the water supply is safe and healthy. Miller credits his staff for their hard work daily.
We have some of the best operators, I think, in the state of Florida that work here. And we've been very successful in identifying some really good projects, executing on our capital improvement program. And as a matter of fact, we've been able to put together some innovative projects that haven't been done anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Pat Carrico, an environmental specialist with the Florida Department of Health in Volusia County. I work as a drinking water inspector for the Safe Drinking Water program here in the county, and I'm responsible for inspecting our 160 public water systems, keeping them in compliance with federal and state regulations. This award-winning plant is unique in many ways. One of the innovative treatments they installed is a solar-powered mixer in their storage tanks. This helps prevent the water from stagnating and is especially important in hot temperatures.
The solar water tank mixers are located inside the potable water storage tanks like this one. These tanks store the water that is pumped to the residents on demand. Plant manager Steve Miller takes us through some steps of the process that brings treated water to you.
This here is the beginning of our process. This is a softener in here. And this piece of equipment is called an aerator. That's where the raw well water comes in. And as it percolates through this, you'll notice that there's a sulfur smell. That's the hydrogen sulfide gas from the well water being released to the atmosphere. After that, the water comes through here into the softening basin. We add lime and polymer, and the hardness in the water drops out. Once the water is softened, it comes over into this secondary chamber. It comes into these weirs, comes down the weirs, and it runs out to the next treatment stage. Just to give you an overview of the plant, as you can see, we've enclosed all of our processes, and that's as a part of a project to enhance the disinfection process. These are all individual process trains here. You look around, we have a 1 million gallon storage tank. That's where we pump all the water into the system. In front of that, there's the high service pump room. Those are the large pumps that we use. And there's the process waste facility over there. This is our process waste facility. Equipment here is where we dewater the sludge. It's the end of the process, the treatment process. And this building here has just been rehabbed in our recent project, as you can see. And this is where the operators come up at the end of the day. All of the hardness is reduced out of the water, and it ends up coming down this mechanism here, going into a dump truck.
Plant operators use these video screens to monitor and control all the equipment and processes, whether here at this location or facility locations around Port Orange. As you enjoy that refreshing glass of water, Steve Miller and his crew are working hard to make sure you have an abundant supply of the precious resource, drinking water. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Stephanie Strong, Public Information Officer for the Florida Department of Health in Volusia County.
Time now to head into the studio to join our very own Community Information Director Dave Byron and his guest Jim Judge, Director of Emergency Management, for this in-depth interview.
Well, thanks, Amber, and hi, everyone. Florida's hurricane season begins June 1st and ends November 30th. Early preparedness is the key to survival should a major storm come our way. Volusia County Emergency Management is kicking up its storm readiness, and so should you. With preparedness in mind, we have with us in the studio today Volusia County's Emergency Management Director, Jim Judge. Jim, thanks for being with us today.
Dave, thanks for having me here today.
As we look at the hurricane season, which begins June 1st, what do you hear about the predictions this year?
Well, the predictions this year, it's expected to be somewhat of a quiet season.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, me too. It looks like we'll be potentially with an El Nino. With an El Nino, you get a lot of the jet stream dropping down and a lot of wind shear. So the predictions are for a quiet year.
But you know, we say this kind of in jest, but seriously as well. Whether there's one Atlantic hurricane or 20, if you have one that comes in your direction and hits your community, you really had a pretty bad year.
That's right, Dave. And as you know, Hurricane Andrew was in a very quiet El Nino year. So, you know, living in Florida, we can never let our guard down. And quite honestly, I love to listen to what the predictions are. But you know what? We prepare every year, whether it's with in our business or with our families, just like, you know, it's going to be active.
I get a kick out of the predictions, you know, these storm predictions, Jim, because, you know, they get to revise their predictions in the middle of the year. Now, listen, if we were at a football game and we were betting on the winner, if we knew what the score was at halftime, we'd have a better chance.
It's the truth. And as you know, Dave, last year was supposed to be a very, very busy year.
Right.
And in fact, it wasn't. It was a dud. You know, not much did happen. There was one tropical storm that, you know, went up into the Gulf Coast, and really not much else happened. So that just goes to show you that, you know, things change and weather patterns change.
Right.
And so it's always better to be prepared.
Of course, one thing that has changed, Jim, over the years, and that is the sophistication of the weather forecasting.
There is so much technology, but you know, I had the privilege just a little while ago to spend a week at the National Hurricane Center.
Right.
That was funded through FEMA to be able to really spend a week using HURVAC and looking at our modeling, looking at our evacuation and clearance times. But you know, a lot of wonderful young men and women that work at that Hurricane Center who are at the top of their game. And Rick Knapp, who's the head of the Hurricane Center, just tremendous. And so there are changes that are coming about, not only this year but next year, that are going to help emergency managers across the state of Florida, across the country, and even in the Caribbean, you know, do a much better job with getting the word out and getting people out of harm's way.
But for the message for the public, Jim, if you recall going back now 10 years ago when we had the back-to-back hurricanes in 2004, you remember that Charlie did kind of a turn to the right and went right across the middle of the state of Florida, and that was not predicted until the last minute. So the message here is you know, even though the forecast is what it is, people need to be ready.
Well, that's the truth. You know, and we always say, you know, make a plan, get a kit, and stay informed.
Right.
And I think the stay informed part is so important because as we get into hurricane season, you know, stay tuned to the local weather and,
right.
and what's going on here. And again, not just if you see a storm and it might not be coming our way, stay tuned because, you know, things do change and those forecast tracks can change overnight. And even Hurricane Andrew at one point, the director of the Hurricane Center back there said, hey, have a nice weekend, don't worry about it, it's going a different direction. And of course, we know
right.
the rest of that story, that
absolutely.
Hurricane Andrew certainly made landfall back in 1992 and quite a bit of destruction.
You know, I want to ask you about Apathy, Jim. You know, it's been 10 years since Volusia County has had the effects of any hurricane, and of course we had those 3 in that 1 year, but it's been 10 years since then. Haven't really had an activation of the EOC for 10 years.
Correct.
Are you worried at all that the public kind of is looking the other way, may not be as sharp on this preparedness thing as they should be?
Well, I am worried, you know, and I think that emergency managers and all the way up to Director Craig Fugate with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, we're all worried, you know, that people are becoming apathetic toward it. And, you know, we like to turn on our news and it's somebody else's problem. But, you know, it has been problems here in Volusia County. We've had floods, fires,
right, exactly.
tornadoes, hurricanes, and it will happen again. So it's incumbent upon us, it's incumbent upon the public to take their preparedness efforts seriously. It's a responsibility.
No
when
question.
you live in Florida, you have a responsibility to take those actions and to be prepared.
And, you know, we need only to look, you know, at the New York, New Jersey area with Hurricane Sandy. A surprise up there. Normally they don't hit that part of the United States, but tremendous damage up there. So we can see, you know, what kind of destruction these storms can cause.
Absolutely, Dave. And if you look at what all happened up there were quite a few fatalities. And a number of those fatalities were individuals who were in evacuation zones and simply did not heed the evacuation warning.
Right.
You know, we always take the forecast information and do the best we can, working with Mr. Deneen and you know, his management advisory group to make sure that they have the best information available for Mr. Deneen to make those decisions. But when we get to the point that we need to evacuate, we need citizens to take that seriously and to take those evacuation orders and do what they need to do. And again, you don't have to go 500 miles away. You just need to go maybe a little bit west of town to get out of harm's way.
Jim, you know, I want to talk about Florida's emergency management structure. I mean, obviously, Florida is the most vulnerable state to hurricanes, and so therefore, as you might expect, Florida has a pretty well-defined emergency management process, starting with the state level and down to the cities and counties. Tell me about how that structure works.
Well, you bet, Dave. You know, we have Brian Kuhn is our state emergency management director, and then the state is broken up into regions. And we're in Region 5, and that's Volusia County, all the way down to Indian River County. We meet quarterly, and sometimes even more often, to talk about what we're all going to do. And then, of course, we also work with our neighbors to the north, with Flagler County, so that should we get into an evacuation situation, that we're all communicating together. Certainly, the state takes the lead. There's multiple conference calls that can happen 4 and 5 times a day about what activities, what actions that each of the counties taking, so that we don't put everybody on the roads at the same time. Certainly that was a problem in Atlanta during the winter storms.
Yeah.
So, you know, we always take those lessons and we try to learn from them, and we try to work and communicate with each other. So again, all the regions work very closely together, but even if there's a problem up, say, in the Panhandle, we're on the conference calls along with the Panhandle, so that we're in the loop of what's going on. So should the need be that emergency management directors from other areas of Florida are able to go up, jump into the situation, but are well informed in what's going on from being on those conference calls.
You know, Volusia County, like all the counties in the state of Florida, has an approved comprehensive emergency management plan, which spells out all the activities and so forth. Talk about the county's role in a disaster, your role as the emergency management director. I mean, what is the county's role?
Well, that's a great question. Well, statutorily, the county has to have an emergency management director. By statute, we have to have a comprehensive emergency management plan. And then in that plan is basically what we have is the emergency support functions. And so, for instance, ESF 8, Emergency Support Function 8, is health and medical. The lead for that is the Volusia County Health Department. But then under that you have EVAC, the ambulance service, you have the hospitals. So each of our 20 emergency support functions is very well defined on the roles and responsibilities, whether it's law enforcement, communications, animal control, special needs, whatever that might be, are all well defined in the comprehensive emergency management plan, and it's a living document. Every 5 years it has to be completely renewed, but we don't wait 5 years. If we see things that need to be changed in the meantime, it's a living document, we make those changes.
Is the county, is it by statute, is the county the lead agency, or is the county the coordinating agency?
I would say the coordinating agency. It's sort of the lead, but a coordinator is the way that I like to look at it. That if there's a situation that happens in one of the municipalities, quite honestly, it's their situation to deal with. But if they get to the point that they've exceeded their capabilities, then certainly they would reach out to the county, reach out to the Emergency Operations Center, and then it would be our job to then help get those resources. And one of the things we've done this past year is to get a resource list from all the cities and the county, so that if Port Orange, for instance, has a need, that we don't have to reach across county lines, we can just reach across city lines, and maybe Daytona Beach has the resources that Port Orange needs, and then we simply connect the dots, kind of be the facilitator of that, and get the job done.
Certainly hope that we don't have to do any evacuations, Jim, but it can happen and does happen during these storms. Tell us the process of deciding an evacuation. Who makes the decision? How was that decision made?
It would be Mr. Dineen's decision, our county manager, and our role would be to provide him with a wealth of information leading up to that decision. Certainly if we had a, let's say, a landfalling hurricane coming into us from the Atlantic, let's say that it was coming into the North Brevard County area, which would put the worst of the hurricane into Volusia County. So we have to look at what our clearance times are going to be. And let's say the storm was predicted to hit at 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, we have to back it up almost 30 hours in order for us to be able to clear the barrier island.
Right.
So that's a difficult decision because, again, as Craig Fugate pointed out to Mr. Dineen and our team here just a few months ago as he was visiting us, we may evacuate 4 times and we may have only had to do it once because there is the error cone of about 174 miles, and when you've got the clearance times and you have to make those decisions somewhat ways out,
right,
there's always the chance that we may not get hit, but yet we took the evacuation seriously. And we have to do that because if we don't activate and we don't get people out, then bad things will happen should that storm actually make landfall in Volusia County.
So in other words, I mean, to simplify this, I mean, you err on the side of caution.
Yes, sir. Well put, Dave.
But you stressed earlier, and it's probably a point that we should again make, and that is that the decision to evacuate, which is ultimately made by the county manager for the whole community, that is not a willy-nilly decision. It is not a decision that is taken lightly. It impacts and disrupts people, it disrupts commerce, etc. But you made the point, and I think it's worth stressing again, if that directive has been given, then people really need to know it's a serious directive and people need to heed that directive.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And you're right, it is a difficult decision. And, when you look at the barrier island, we account for about $1 million a mile that it costs in commerce and things to evacuate that. So the school board's going to be involved in that decision. So there's going to be many players that are going to be at the table with Mr. Dineen. And we're going to have the National Weather Service on the phone. We're going to have the Hurricane Center on the phone. And, so that Mr. Dineen has every bit of the latest and greatest information when that decision needs to be made. Again, looking at those clearance times to be able to give people the opportunity that they need to get off that barrier island and get out of harm's way.
Well, Jim, again, I want to thank you for being with us today. Our subject is hurricane preparedness. We've got lots more to talk about, so if you don't mind, we'd like to have you come back again next week, and we'll continue our conversation.
Thank you very much, Dave.
And with that, Amber, we'll go back to you. And just a reminder, our Emergency Management Director, Jim Judge, will be back with us again on Volusia Magazine for part 2 of our conversation. So with that, we'll go back to you, Amber.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you too for watching Volusia Magazine. If you have any questions about the show, you can feel free to give us a call at any of the numbers you see listed here, or you can log on to volusia.org and just select the News tab at the top of the screen to find us. Did you know you can catch the show there too? Incidentally, you can find the County Council's meeting calendar, and you can use volusia.org to find out about meeting dates, workshops, topics of interest, activities, and how you can become involved. And we hope you won't forget to listen to Volusia Today. That's Volusia County Government's weekly public radio broadcast. Volusia Today airs every Tuesday and Sunday mornings on the local radio stations you see on your screen. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Amber Patterson, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.